Welcome back. You're listening to the Cindy Laverty Show nationwide on CRN Digital Talk. Thanks for joining me today. If you're just tuning in, my guest is Isha Judd, and I'd like to invite you to sit back, relax, and take in Isha's wisdom, because this is a brilliant woman who we're talking to today, all the way from South America. Isha, thanks so much for being here. It's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
We were talking before the break about how living in the future just brings up worry and fear, and we stay out of the present. And you say that every moment we waste thinking about the future is energy you could use to transform your reality now. And that makes perfect sense, but doing it seems to be a bit of more of a challenging process for people. Can you talk about that for a second?
You know, the thing that I teach is that we have to focus into our heart, in what I call love consciousness. And the reason we have all these preoccupations and doubts about the future is we're constantly living in our heads, in our intellect.
Yeah.
And that's a place that's always of duality. So I teach people to focus on love consciousness, to focus on present moment awareness through the system that I teach. And when you're
Which is the
there,
Isha system, right?
That's correct.
I love that.
Surprise, surprise. and you know, your reality really starts to change. And as you're focusing on love consciousness, all the fears start to come up, but they start to be liberated, and you start to vibrate in a higher frequency, and you start to perceive through new eyes. You know, it's as if we're always looking through a dirty window of everything that's transpired. And a lot of that, I mean, there's lots of wonderful things. I don't want to sound like this incredibly negative person.
Oh, you don't sound like that at all.
And all these, you know, disillusionments, and we always think we have to be protecting ourselves, and we have to be planning, and we're really not seeing what's in front of us, and it's really quite incredible what is in front of us always. We're just not here.
Yeah, you know, I had an interesting thing happen to me about a week ago, and I can be a bit of a control freak. I mean, I have to admit it. I can. And the other day, I just made a decision, really after reading your book. I thought, okay, so just stop it and just allow the process to flow. And it's just amazing what happens when you do that. Things just start to happen for you.
Sure. You know, I say that we're so busy clinging to our rocks or our control, and the universe is throwing diamonds at us, and we're so resistant because we're afraid of what we don't know. And even if it's not something so extreme, but we have so many fixed ideas of how things need to look and how they should be. And often we're not even happy, and we're still clinging desperately to our ideas. And they constantly take us, yes.
Well, you say that we're married to our current beliefs, our affirmations, you know, all these things that have been true to us for such a long time. And letting go of that is really hard.
Yes, it's difficult. But when you find something better, when you find something more secure, more real, which is that love that's within us, when you start to sit in that place of peace and joy, you start to see life as more of an adventure instead of a struggle. You know, and you're open to start taking risks and start to flow, and the limitations will become very present, like you'll see them because they'll be right in your face. You'll start to create situations where you'll see that extreme control, which comes from fear, and you'll see the inherent no that we have just because we need to protect ourselves, and you'll start to say yes.
Right. Okay, well, let's start going through some of the steps, because there's a process to doing this. It's not like you just all of a sudden let go of all of this. You give everybody a pretty clear process, you know, to sort of let go of what you believe to be true but isn't necessarily true. And and that's how you start laying the foundation for the love consciousness. And the first thing is focus on joy, because you can't be focused on joy and worry all at the same time.
It's a little bit complicated, but some of us can manage. You know, it's very, yes, and that comes with present moment awareness, you know, and we're constantly, the intellect's so busy protecting, it's always looking for what's wrong because it feels vulnerable. And when you anchor in your heart, you don't need to be protecting. So often you will sit in your heart and you'll be in a more joyful space. You know, I was talking to my students today. I have an event here today, and I was saying the intellect's very clear because it's got a duality, whereas the heart's just a constant yes. It's just this opening and embracing everything and saying yes, and it comes from a place of trust. So, we have to cultivate the experience of love consciousness. I mean, obviously that's the first step. And then when we have that, we're open with a big yes to start changing.
Yeah, saying yes to what comes our way is a huge shift for most people. When it happens, it's a beautiful process. So when you're working with people and you go through, you have here the beacons to light your way. And what are some of these things that people need to start focusing on to let go of the fear?
Well, I think the first thing is we have to acknowledge the fact that maybe we're not completely happy in our lives, and maybe what we're doing isn't maybe what we're doing isn't fulfilling us. And then we have to see that in order to change, I have to do something radically different because we have this need to change, but we want to keep doing the same thing because it makes us feel safe. And we
Well,
have to embrace the fact, yeah.
things sometimes get a little crazy when you start to change too. I mean, you feel kind of crazy inside and it gets scary.
Sure, it gets scary, but at least you know you're alive. You know,
Right.
this is the best thing because often we're passive, we're comfortable, we're miserable, but we're not, and we're just totally living in discontent. But once we start to trust internally, and it's a step, it's a process. Yes, you do it step by step. It's not like this crazy thing. But as you walk through your fears, you start to really see that they are illusions, that you always are creating everything you need to support and hold and to love you. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And,
Mm.
you just start having this trust and this flow.
Oh,
Because in reality, we're creating everything and we don't know that. We think that things are happening to us, so we have to protect ourselves. But once you start becoming a creator instead of a victim to life and you start embracing everything as an opportunity to be more, then you really start to live in a vibration that's bringing you a joyful experience.
right. And one of the ways that you say that we should do that is to reclaim the innocence of childhood. And you refer to the difference between when we're children and then when we become a teenager, an adult, and we're told, no starts to build up in our life a lot.
Well, all our approval's external. I think one of the first things we have to start being true to our own hearts. We have to stop abandoning ourselves, and we have to cultivate unconditional love of self. And
Mm.
this comes through what I practice a system which is called unification, which means you go inside and you start to elevate your vibration, and all the things that are based in fear, all the memories that create your perception of the world, they start to come to the surface, and you start to see that in reality they're illusions. They're things that have happened, but your perception of what happened is creating fear in your body, and you've got to a point now where you can start to just let go of that.
Okay, Isha,
And
hold that thought because we're going to talk more about illusions on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're listening to Cindy Laverty Show. I'll be right back with Isha Judd. Are you